Here we are back at Higurashi. My head was pounding. The sky was bright. It was too cold too. It hurt. The institution I felt led to a new and different one awakening. When I came to, I was lying face first on a dry riverbed. A few body parts hurt a lot. The skin over a bunch of my joints was torn, turned blue or red or oozing blood. I could tell it was my bones that were in pain from the agony I felt whenever I moved. I looked up and saw how high the bridge from which I had fallen was. Considering I dropped from there, it was a miracle that I could open my eyes again. Right next to me was a broken, upside-down car seat, which I guess in pranks isn't brought here. Maybe this thing had been conveniently lying right under me, allowing me to escape instant death. Miraculous. Of course, I didn't know whether this miracle was fortunate or unfortunate. I failed to die, and now I know I was still stuck in this insane world. How long had I been unconscious for? The sun was high in the sky, so it looked like only 1 or 2 hours had passed. But my body's sluggishness didn't make it feel at all like so short a time had gone by. Mentally, it felt like I'd been able to sleep here for a decade. Oh, God, the more feeling returned to my body, the more pain flooded in. It hurt so much it would have been better not to have woken up. I needed to get to a doctor. Yeah, at the coach's clinic. The term coach's clinic brought back memories when after another memories I wish I hadn't recalled. Satoko was no longer on the bridge. She would have returned to Hinamisawa by now, and as she would, she put on some clothes, go to the clinic to get a checkup and point out how crazy I had seen. The police were waiting for me without a doubt. It was time when they would find out for the real that I just killed her uncle and arrest me, or if they just sent me to a mental institution like I thought they might. Still, I didn't care which it was. Please, someone stop all this pain. You could boil me or cook me. After that, whatever you want. I began to walk unsteadily, just limping along. I went downstream and then through an animal trail path in the woods. I walked haphazardly, searching for a path I knew. Eventually, I finally came across a familiar road and set out towards the clinic. Not to my house, but to the clinic, which had treated me like a lunatic. It was hot and humid. There was no wind, and the air was stagnant. For a while now, I've been smelling the terrible stench of burned eggs, and it made my face scrunch up. And at last, I noticed something. I couldn't hear any cicadas. It was the first time I heard Hinamisawa would be so utterly silent. When I thought back, it seemed like the birds were always chirped in the morning, cicadas always crowed loudly in the afternoon, and Higurashi always rose up in the chorus in the evening and always something to hear. I couldn't hear a single insect. The only thing I could hear was the rustling of the wind brushing the treetops. I never experienced this sort of quiet before. Even the only sound coming from the trees lacked life somehow. The trees were yellow and many leaves were spread on the ground despite it being too early for autumn. Even though weeds that had been growing so persistently at the side of the road had yellowed brown and lost their vigor. Only the sunlight itself was the June of Hinamisawa I knew, and yet it seemed like the reasons had switched all of a sudden. Looking at the fallen leaves and the rotten weeds led me to spot a few small insects turned on their backs. They weren't moving. They were corpses. I looked closer to the insect corpses scattered all around. Like a child, I collected them as samples and strewn them about. The stench, what was it? It was a terrible, like burned eggs, combined with all the bug corpses, leaves falling from trees in summer, as someone sprayed herbicides or pesticides around here. Even at school, we apparently fumigate, they call it pest disinfection or something once or twice a year. I hadn't run into anybody despite how bright it was outside. It was at mid-afternoon. It felt like I was sauntering about at midnight. What did this smell? Nobody would want to be walking around outside. Just what was this anyway? There was no sound, no noise, not even a breath. Even so, it was silent. The school was coming to view right after turning on this corner, and I couldn't hear any commotion at all. None of the shouts or grunts the children always made. It was simply quiet. Just as pertained to ignore the silence that grew intolerable, I saw the school. And finally I heard something. I was the sound of a few trucks. There are a few very tall trucks parked in the schoolyard idling. About 10 workers in raincoats were unloading things from their trunks. It was hot and humid, even in my casual clothing. I couldn't imagine how bearable that must have been. And then I remembered our school was rented from the Forest Service field office building, wasn't it? It was strange at all for the Forest Service trucks to be doing some kind of work in the schoolyard. Besides, what did the Forest Rangers do anyway? I felt bad for them having to work in such heat and with such a stench about. They were taking clearly for a cargo off the truck and lined up in the schoolyard. They were containers, fairly large ones, inside multicolored patchwork bags. Heavy, they were too, being carried in pairs. That lined them up very neatly like a tuna at a riverside fish market. Several dozen hedges of tuna were completely filling the fairly wide schoolyard up. I forgot my pain for a little while, captivated by the big force of the job I'd never seen before. As I stood there watching in a daze, the people in the raincoats working on the other side noticed me. One of them pointed me out, and they shot a few things back and forth. They thought they might yell at me for getting in their way, so I decided to leave post-haste. But the two trucks drove up behind me. I stepped aside as I entered the schoolyard. Sheets covered their trunks, but I could tell they were completely full. As I passed, there was an awful smell that made me want to choke. It was the same burnt egg smells before, but even worse, like rotten crab meat. What on earth was it? I've been shrouded in one terrible stench after another all day. Then certain white letters emblazoned on the side of the passenger caught my eye. Ground Self-Defense Forces. What? Self-Defense Forces like the Army? Like what was an army in the schoolyard? Hey you, where did you come from? Suddenly someone slapped me on the shoulders from behind. I turned around and a Canop SDF Jeep was parked there. The SDF was had on a green raincoat and gas mask like in the movies, carrying a compressed air cylinder. He didn't look normal, and there was an inch of exposed skin anywhere. Where did I out? When I tried to talk, I stretched on a wound on my head. I stretched. It made the SDF people exchange glances. I couldn't see their faces through the mask, but they seemed surprised. Do you live in Yamazawa? Can you tell us your name and address? Yeah, I sort of live here. My name is Kichi Mebera. Oh, my address, blank, Hinamizuwa Village, Shushibone. After seeing me tell them my name and address without hesitation, one of the SDF people watching from the Jeep started talking to a radio. Base, do you read? Base, do you read? We have a 402 survivor discovered. I repeat, we have a 402. We found a survivor. He's from the Forest Service office. This is base. We copy. Secure the survivor at once. What is his status? Healthy. Wounded all over, but not fatally. He can walk on his own. We'll send him to HQ for safety. I was prepared to go along with the police, but the SDF, I couldn't help but think it seemed a little bit much. They urged me into the back of the Jeep, and then they told me to put on this gigantic gas mask. I did so, and one of the troops fiddled around with it, strapping it to me tightly. It was heavy, hard to breathe, the sea out of hot and difficult to breathe. Just looking at the world through the lens made it lose a sense of reality. My breathing sounded like some giant monster through the mask. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. There's this much trepidation. I asked the trooper adjusting my mask. Excuse me, has something happened? Where were you? What were you doing? Hey, they don't answer a question to more questions. I was the one asking you. I fell from a rope bridge way back in the mountains. I think I passed out in the riverbed. I don't actually know what day it is. Today is June 22nd, 1983, Wednesday. That surprised me, so I took a push me off on the bridge on Tuesday the 21st. That meant I'd been asleep on that riverbed for an entire day. Forgive me for asking again, but did something happen? Why is SDF here? Is this a drill? Had my question been in that difficult form? None of the troopers would answer me. The one in the driver's seat talking on his radio turned on the vehicles. He turned the dial, some broadcast station or another came in. I started to listen to the voice of a radio announcer I was familiar with, was conducted at the Prime Minister's office. In regards to questions from the press that SDF not respond to disaster promptly was directly related to the unprecedented, unheard of catastrophe, Chief Cabinet Security Okuno had this to say. And so I believe that once the SDF received the dispatch order from the prefectural governor, they responded promptly. According to him, the SDF was prompt to respond to the crisis after receiving their orders. He implied that there was a prefecture's responsibility for taking too long to comprehend the situation. When did the governor who requested the SDF's dispatchers become aware of the outbreak of such an unprecedented catastrophe, and that he did not invite further damage because of time lost before he sent the request for disaster relief? In other words, because of the bureaucracy? We are waiting for the investigation into the matter. That was Mr. Koda reporting from the Prime Minister's office official residence. At this point, we could take another look at the political response following this disaster. In the middle of the night between June 21st and June 22nd, a large-scale disaster broke out in Hinamizawa Village, Shichibone. The details had not been yet investigated, but there was an eruption of volcanic gas from somewhere in the Hinamizawa area. The gas was relatively heavy, and as it spewed out, it began to flow. That flow went down along a small river and headed directly into Hinamizawa Village. After a few hours, it had covered the entire region. It happened in the middle of the night, 2 to 4 a.m. Every home and household in the village was afflicted. When most of the residents were asleep, it is thought that all died without noticing the crisis. The catastrophe struck in the middle of the night caused this detection to come too late, but there was still one small opportunity to have noticed it. 3 a.m., a news dealer shop in Okinamiya sent a vehicle carrying the morning newspaper to his branch office in Himasawa. Usually the shop would be contacted upon the vehicle's arrival, but this morning that didn't happen. The news dealer shop made repeated calls but got no response. The shopkeeper sent his eldest son to check on things, but they lost contact with him as well. It's extremely regrettable. If they had contacted the police or fire department at this point, it is highly possible the situation had turned out more positively. At the very least, it is possible that the portion of the village might have been saved from tragic annihilation. 6 a.m. The residents in the areas in the same region began continuously calling 119 to report the smell of rotten eggs, dizziness, nausea, and headaches. The fire department received the same reports, often in the same confined region. They speculated a truck loaded with chemicals may have gotten into an accident and reported it to the local police. 6:30 a.m. Contact was also with a patrol car on duty in the Hinamizawa area to the officer reported the smell of rotten eggs. The local police considered the possibility of a large-scale disaster involving highly lethal gas and reported it to the prefecture and prefectural police at 7:15 a.m. 8 a.m. The governor was traveling to nearby prefectures for inspection, so in accordance with regulations, the prefectural environmental disaster prevention chief was provisionally escalated to the director general and separate disaster countermeasures office. However, without contacting the governor, the countermeasures came too late, as has recently been pointed out by the citizens. Groups his trip with honorary diet members to inspect other prefectures based solely on good relations. In this rumor, they preoccupy themselves with the drinking party. Sources closer to him claim the governor had been drinking all night and gone to sleep in a drunken state. He was completely drunk when the environmental chief phoned him as well, and apparently he could not get him to pay any attention to the matter. So it took about 4 hours for the governor to sober up again to understand the situation and gather information. Though not as extreme as the government's case, the environmental chief who became director general in this governor's absence will likely also be questioned about his negligence. In addition, without any procedures or the places all prefectures aside that predicted catastrophes this massive, they would always react too late and they end up being fatal. 9:12 a.m. On the advice of a prefectural police, the governor requested a disaster relief mission from the SDF. By the time the chemical defense unit equipped with protective equipment arrived on the scene, 8 hours had already passed. I wish people would shut up and stop messaging me. Anyway, whatever the case may be, it was unfortunate this happened while everyone was sleeping in the middle of the night. Had the same disaster occurred during the day, it would likely have been entirely different. All households in Hinamizawa village region were wiped out. There are over 1,000 victims. The SDF is still confirming the situation on the ground, but the results are predicted to only increase that number. Here with us in the studio today is Dr. Fujiwara, a professor at Blank University, who is well acquainted with the volcanic disasters. Doctor, can such a sudden and horrible burst of poisonous gas actually happen? It isn't at all unusual for this to happen right around craters, at least. Japan is a volcanic nation, has so many active volcanoes. There's always a danger of hazardous gas around many of these craters, and it's generally a rule among mountain climbers not to go near them. Does this mean the rotten eggs while I visit Himazawa village was a normal sort of gas from volcanic craters? Judging by how it smelled like rotten eggs, we would think it was hydrogen sulfide, a gas seen particularly frequently in accidents compared to other volcanic gases. If it stands, it becomes extremely dangerous. Himazawa village is very far away from the craters of any volcanoes. Can hydrogen sulfide be generated even from a place not close to a crater? I don't know all the details, so I can't say anything concrete. But in other countries, there are records of gas erupting due to magma buildup under hot springs. It's an extremely rare event, but it is possible for such a thing to happen, even in a region not near craters. Thank you very much, Doctor. We appear to have an announcement from the Japan Defense Agency. Miss Morikawa, are you there? Yes, I'm at the Japan Defense Agency. The agency just made an announcement regarding the source of the Hinamizawa village gas disaster. Analysis from the Ground Self-Defense Forces Department of Chemistry has found that the gas was a mixture of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Ms. Morikawa, do you know whether the gas is still erupting or spreading in nearby areas? According to the SDF's 9th Division, who are currently engaged in the rescue operation in Hinamizawa village, the gas density is steadily decreasing. They have announced that the damage will not spread. However, the such change affected the surrounding areas are still in danger, and that very strict observation must be maintained. That was Morikawa from the Japan Defense Agency, and now we have a report on the state of those who are made to evacuate the Okinomiya area. Shimoshinozaki Elementary School is one of the evacuation sites, and we currently have a reporter on Bazine. Wait, what? Inside the Jeep clamoring, bouncing along the road, none answered my mother question. Am I unprecedented a catastrophe had destroyed Hinamizawa in a single night? Where was it? It was our village anyway. Someplace deep in the mountains, right? Names of places I've heard about on the radio were always like that. They were all places I never heard of, much less these locations wiped out. What does that mean? Don't they usually say how many died and how many were injured? How many people were alive? Where did everyone evacuate to? Eventually we came into view of Coach's clinic. For the first time I saw the flag of Japan hanging on a pole outside. Japan's circular song hung down as though exhausted. Many SDF teams were set up in the clinic's big parking lot, and many strict security vehicles were parked there as well. When they saw the Jeep coming, men in white clothing, gas masks came running out of the clinic, frantic, carrying a stretcher. You're going to be alright. How do you feel? Can you walk? Yes. Ow, ow. Because of my owls, they forced me to lay in the stretcher anyway. People who seemed like doctors were looking at me and notifying others of my condition via radio. Multiple wounds, high possibility of fractures and internal damage, large laceration in the head. Pupils normal, but even without bleeding from the fundus, brain damage is still possible. And then from the clinic entrance, people lying on the stretchers were brought outside to replace me. Judging by their clothing, they were from Higurashi, and that's how I knew they were victims. They brought the stretchers in front of a truck. Two troops holding shoulders and legs like some kind of baggage picked them up and threw them into the trunk. In the trunk of the truck, people's bodies piled in heaps. They were just like baggage, and that told me they were already nothing but shells. At that moment, I remembered all those colorful sacks filling the trunks and then lined up in a schoolyard like a fish market. Hundreds of empty shells, corpses, 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 corpses. Damn. You jackasses don't just throw the victims in like that. They lived here. The troops carrying their sacks answered me with a humble salute. The world didn't need this insane version of Higurashi. My final wish. Again, it was granted. Damn. I didn't understand anything anymore. None of it mattered. I wished I cursed, and next day it happened next day. That please tomorrow let me die. That insane night is still going on. Please let it end already. Hey, he's lost consciousness. Shout his name. Quickly. Mabarakam, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just blink. Mabarakam, Mabarakam, Mabarakam. Suddenly the world didn't matter to me anymore. I was interested in their cries. His breathing stopped. Get his respiratory tract open. Use CPR. Make him live. Damn it, damn it. No more dead people. Nobody deserves to die. Don't kill him, don't kill him. I could hear the voices of a man crying and screaming in my ears. Nobody deserves to die. Their words came from his heart. There were so many commonplaces, and they soaked into my heart too. Maybe if it was a mistake to take someone's life, and if it wasn't safe to go. If it was this price I had to pay this horrible tragedy, then this is a little too much. Yoshio-sama, why did you never punish me? Come to think of it, Tsuchiko said something. Yoshio-sama's curse, actual curse, never goes for the target first, but kills everyone they love before that. Yoshio-sama's curse. It was a convenient excuse I told myself at the very end, and that it wasn't my curse that destroyed it, but Yoshio-sama's. Even now, within the stretcher, this next bit might have been obvious, but at last of all, I realized one thing. Yeah. Today, I had not heard those footsteps following me. Even once, another person messaging me. Damn. And now I was liberated, as the cries of the Higurashi I couldn't have been hearing filled my mind. Their tearful and symbol was the only funeral march I had. June 22nd, 1933, early morning, a widespread disaster occurred in Higurashi village, Shishibon Prefecture. Volcanic gas, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide erupted from Onigafuchi Swamp, one of the Higurashi area's water sources, and spread through the entire village. There were 1,200 victims. 20 have gone missing. The catastrophe was unprecedented, forcing local governments to evacuate approximately 600 people. According to later investigations, magma pools and hot springs were uncovered directly under Onigafuchi Swamp, and the gas that gushed from it was determined to be the cause of the disaster. In addition, directly after the incident broke out, many came forth claiming that the disaster was a curse based in Higurashi village legends, first sparking a wave of chaos. There were apparently local legends of a curse spreading a miasma destroying the village, and some scholars believe a similar gas disaster may have happened in the past and remain part of these legends. More extreme periodicals suggested this was an extension of the string of freak death incidents that have been happening in recent years in Higurashi village, stirring these interest and theories about the curse of Hiroshima. In addition, relatives of those in Higurashi village who had escaped disaster complained of sickness afterwards and were hospitalized. Some of them had even died of unknown causes, further encouraging such extreme opinions. Damn, I can't keep up with this. On top of that, several relatives professed to be possessed by Hiroshimi's curse and committed suicide in strange ways, and the impact the disaster had on the entire nation could no longer be ignored. Violent visions of terrible toxic gas sneaking around in the middle of the night, killing people, spilled across the country, causing a steady stream of people complaining of insomnia, difficult breathing, and headache dizziness. Someone who identified who themselves as being possessed by it began doing odd things. Most of these were mistakenly attributed by the tabloid press, but afterwards, some even began to call the mental issues arising from Higurashi judging the Higurashi syndrome. The Higurashi village region, object of all kinds of rumors and speculations, currently closed off, and even flying overhead is prohibited. The whole prohibition was at one point undone as a result of a decrease in the gasicity, but that autumn another gas burst was confirmed, leading to the area being cordoned off again. Word is that the area is sound asleep, all traces of its former life intact and left to rot. Only one survivor remains, Kichi Mibera, age something, who lived at Higurashi village. He's 16, according to the other games. At the time of rescue, he had some trouble breathing due to fluid buildup in his lungs, but as a result of life-saving procedures, he was kept alive. He is currently in a general hospital somewhere in the prefecture. The press have been asking for himself some time, but all interviews are being refused. What did he see in Higurashi? What happened between June 21st and June 22nd in Higurashi village? Today he remains silent, unwilling to speak of it. Okay, I believe that is the end of this Higurashi game. Oh hey, possibly committed suicide in the village, strangled to death, Tatarigoroshi went missing, possibly committed suicide, possibly murdered at the shrine. So apparently, this third Higurashi game is 3 out of 4 or 5 in the question arc, meaning the other Higurashi series games, I'm unsure if it involves Kichi and Mian, Shion, all of them or not. I'm not sure if there'll be different characters or not, but there's at least one more Higurashi game with Kichi in them. And, attempted suicide at the victim's hospital. What? Diagnosed with severe blah blah blah. Oh man, I gotta pee so bad. I'll let the credits roll, guys, because I gotta go pee. And I am back. Right at the end. So he attempted suicide, but I guess he's still alive. Either way, there's not really a happy ending either this time. The other one's Kichi dies, and this time he's alive, but everyone else is dead. Wait, what's this? More? An elderly couple living in Osaka Prefecture discovered a cassette tape organized in the possessions of their son who passed away 8 years ago. Their son went missing when his fishing boat capsized in 1995. He was 47 at the time of his death. 8 years later, in 2003, they had begun to organize their son's remains in order to organize their minds. They came across this cassette tape in question. From 1975 to 1889, His experience working as a journalist for a photography periodical, and his tape is thought to have been created during that time. The label on the tape read 11/28/1983 Kichi Maebara. It is thought the tape recorded during an interview with Kichi Maebara, the only survivor of the Great Himizo disaster that occurred in 1983, June. As the only person who lived through the disaster on the night of the June 21st shot at mystery, many interested parties attempted to question him, but he never once spoke physically to anyone in a public place. Therefore, the tape caused quite a stir, possibly being of extremely high value. Click. It's really hard to miss talk about stuff when I know I'm being recorded. Please don't worry about it here. It won't be a problem if I do this, right? After this, the sound quality dramatically decreases. Did he cover the recording device or something? Then let's get started. Here's my first question. Kichi-kan, where are you in the night of the great disaster? I had gone behind the shrine and took a path through the woods for a while. There's a rope bridge there, a little while before you get into the mountains. I fell from there and lost consciousness. Did this happen during the night of the disaster between the 21st and 22nd? No, it was the morning of the 21st on Tuesday, which means I woke up in the afternoon of the next day. I think I was out for a day and a half. Why on earth were you there? I mean, I'm sure everyone wants to know, but the bridge you fell from that day or weekend, my attic was quite far from your house and school, wasn't it? Speaking frankly, there is someone who say you knew of the great disaster beforehand and fell from the rope bridge as you were trying to flee the village. This isn't a joke. Please don't be so arbitrary about this. I think it's a terrible thing to say to you. Please don't be offended. Anyway, about the rope bridge you fell from, it was right out here on the map, right? The rope bridge behind the back of the shrine through the path in the woods, probably. I never went over there, so I can't say for sure. I guess I just want you to know why you were out somewhere you never been on a weekday morning. And then, well, about the riverbed you fell cautious on. Have you ever heard about the rumors that being impossible? Impossible, that's that word. Again. For a little while, Kichi Maebara mutters the word impossible several times. Why would it be impossible? You know how the volcanic gases originated in the Gunafuchi swamp? Some scholars do some pretty delicate simulations of modeling discovered to be very interesting. The volcanic gas was heavier than the air, so it went along the ground, flowing into the lower and lower places kind of like the water does. And the Gunafuchi swamp was a source, so they were able to test how many times it would take for a gas to erupt and spread across the whole village. So while the riverbed you were unconscious on, the gas, it would have flowed down there. I really don't understand what you're getting at. In other words, if you really passed on the riverbed, you would have been in the middle of the toxic gas that spread everywhere that night. That means there's no chance you could have passed out there. Allow me to be a little bit more frank. I think that you might be telling a lie. During the great disaster, you were hiding in a safe place, keeping an eye out for when the gas got thinner, then reappeared and were secured by the SDF. How about that? Is that right on the mark? For a short time, the drones pressed his Kichi Maebara farther in a teasing way, but all that could be heard are of his size. Even if that was the case, I won't be surprised at this point. What do you mean you won't be surprised? Does this recording really take care of Kichi Maebara? Some harbor suspicions. You said before, didn't you, that it was impossible. Impossible things in the Himizo happen. Impossible things happen in that Himizo all the time. There are people who shouldn't exist. There are people who end up alive. It's not really that unusual. You never thought I, of all people, would be asked to prove that I was still alive when I was supposed to have died. The journalist and Kichi Maebara both laughed for a while. To verify his authenticity, I had others in the Maebara family check tapes with his voice. However, the sound was not clear, and much time had passed, so the relatives I checked with couldn't remember what he sounded like. I was unable to gain positive proof it was actually Kichi Maebara's voice. Is he dead now, or what? Alright, then I'll change the subject. What do you think of the debate about whether this disaster was the curse of the 5th year of the serial freak death incident in Himisawa? I don't think it was. I was the curse that year after all. What do you mean? I was just answering the question. Doubt sauce our man regarding the date, limit ain't written on the tape. The curse, well, you probably won't believe me when I tell you this. I was the one who caused it. I was the one who wished for the whole village to die, and it happened. What an exciting story. Exciting? I suppose you'd call it that. After Maebara Kichi's failed suicide attempt on a certain August day, 2 months after the disaster, he was diagnosed with a mental disorder and transported to a treatment facility. I was the one who killed Takano and Kocho and Hoichi too. At the time, I had some kind of divine power. Yes, I was supposed it was like footsteps. Footsteps? Wait, no, what's that supposed to mean? You have never heard footsteps before? Tip-tap, click-click, click-click. The facility never allowed any news coverage, so it's extremely unlikely that tape of the media date after August of 1983 would have had his voice on it. Today, when you're walking around trying to stop silence, then interesting will happen. Anyway, if you hear an extra footstep, even though you already stopped walking, you better be careful, you know? Yes, I'll be careful. Is that what I'm saying really that funny to you? However, the reporter had been criticized for his forceful methods of collecting data while he was active, so there's still a possibility that he broke into the facility and forced Kichi Mibera to talk. You've been doing nothing but laugh at my face this whole time. You're just like Coach. You pretend to sympathize with me to listen to what I have to say, but your eyes are telling me you think I'm a lunatic. That's not true. No, I can tell. Your eyes are the same as Coach's. Is this truly Kichi Mibera's voice? The authenticity of this recording is still wrapped in a mystery. I never heard the footsteps again after that day, so I don't think I've had that terrible power anymore. Perhaps right now, I'll wish for you to die. I'll wish for your death for saying all these unpleasant things. Yes, this time I don't decide how you die. The cornerstone is burnt to death, so let's go with upset with water. I hope you drown and die. How's that? 15 years after this tape was created, the reporter, just as Kichi Mibera had predicted, died in an accident out on the sea. If I'm in top form like I was and he died before tomorrow morning for sure. Now then, I wonder how many days will it take you to drown. You better be careful, you know. Don't go getting yourself killed by some stupid curse I put on you, okay? The recording ends in Mo Kichi Mibera's laughter. And Kichi Mibera. Kichi Mibera what? Later on the night of 11/30, 1983, after the interview, he suddenly died from a high fever, cause unknown. The records remain of the strong, strange words he kept giving after he pressed the call button on the day before he died. An extra set of footsteps. Man, why is there never a happy freaking ending? Later this week on Friday, there's another Higurashi game coming out. It's set in the same universe, I believe. And apparently it's also in the question arc, but I don't see it on the official wiki yet, but I'm still going to play it for you guys when I get paid Friday. Apart from that, there should be like one more in the question arc that involves like Kichi and them, like I said. And after that, if the rest of the games in the series, if they don't involve Kichi and them, I might not do them. I'm not sure, because I haven't looked into it or not to know if they have Kichi and them or not. But if they don't, I'm probably not going to do them, because I like the story with Kichi and them. But thanks for watching, guys. This will be the end of Chapter 3 of Higurashi. I'm unsure when the other one comes out. You know, the spin-off one or whatever comes out Friday. But with Kichi and them, I don't know when the next one comes out. It'll probably be later this year. But hopefully maybe we'll get a good ending sometime, man. Because I'm tired of Kichi dying. You know, this time it was even worse. Everyone dying and going crazy and blah, blah, blah. But I'll see you guys in my next video.